This is a GE Geospring hybrid water heater. Where's our focus? There we go. Anyways, this is the older model. Obviously, this port is kind of partially covered when you have the front cover on. I currently have it off because I need to make a pressure relief valve better design. I need to bring this down to about here, this way I can get the cover on properly. At the moment, it isn't on, but it functions pretty decently without it on. It just gives more air to the coils and whatnot. A lot of people are saying that they have issues with the evaporator coil. I currently don't. Cross my fingers, the thing is only a month old, but I did buy extended warranty, so if anything happens within 11 years, I'm taken care of. A lot of people are saying that when the tech comes out to replace the evaporator coil because something has failed, or the compressor or whatever, that they don't replace this unit right here, this piece. This is your filter dryer. Under no circumstance do you don't want to have this replaced. If any component of the refrigerant lines or anything is replaced, you always want to replace the filter dryer unit. That is the lifeblood of your unit, like the oil filter in your car. You don't just go and get your oil changed in your car without getting the filter changed, so why should you do it to this unit here? Also too, it absorbs water, contaminants, anything from contaminants from just partial wear and tear on the compressor unit, which puts maybe mild to partial shavings from break-in or wear and tear, or just normal function in the unit gets caught up in the filter dryer unit. All these things contribute to the filter dryer unit. If that filter dryer unit fails, everything else will definitely fail shortly after. If the compressor goes out, takes a shit, or decides that it's going to burn up and burn all the freon in it with it, filter dryer unit must, under no circumstance, not be replaced. It has to be replaced. Because if you don't, whatever components you replace thereafter will have a shortened lifespan. Yes, you might get lucky where you don't have any issues, but to be on the safe side, you always want to replace the filter dryer unit. The filter dryer unit on this one is actually a smaller tube. This right here is actually your expansion tank or expansion valve, just part of the compressor unit. That is your low pressure switch. Sometimes those go bad too, and that is this little piece is actually a thermal coupler that actually measures the high pressure side. It's I guess you could say an older way of seeing that the temperature gets a little too hot, it'll shut this unit down. This way it prevents damage to the compressor and other components inside the unit. Because when this gets too hot, higher pressure keeps mounting up, and sometimes you can blow off the low pressure sensor switch, or you can blow the line somewhere else in the weakest point of the unit. God forbid it blows anything inside the water heater, because that is not replaceable. It could be, I mean, if you want to take the whole thing apart, but under no circumstance will anybody really want to do that, because you're talking about major surgery on a unit. Same thing with the fridge. If the evaporator coil goes out, you can replace it. If the condenser goes out, you can replace it. If any of the lines go bad, like the one that runs around your refrigerator door to make it where it actually keeps moisture away from the seals from rusting out the door jambs, that goes bad, the only other way to fix it is to bypass it, or get a new fridge, one of the two. But just to give you a review of this water heater, I've used it for about a month and a half. Love it. Bills dropped about $40. I have it on e-heat mode only, and it provides more hot water than my 60-gallon standard electric water heater did. And this is only on e-heat mode. According to the studies, it's supposed to actually provide more hot water than a regular hot electric water heater on recovery. Cool thing about this one is it's not really made by GE. If you guys did your research on this, this is actually made by Rheem. It's actually an updated model of the one that's sold at Home Depot. And this one actually has what every water heater should have, a anode rod. Yes, every water heater comes with the anode rod, but this one is actually replaceable. You can see on top of here it's got a little weld mark right here. Well, I guess you can say a white spot compared to everything else. That's actually a little diode. It extends the life of the anode rod. Depending on what kind of water condition you have in your area, it might last longer, it might have a shorter lifespan. Here, I have really hard water. I can probably get maybe 7 or 8 years before the anode rod is completely covered in calcium deposits, which then I have to replace it. I haven't had one that had a diet on it, so the verdict is still out on that to see what the lifespan of that anode rod is. But the Rheem water, the first generation one that's at Home Depot, it does not actually have a replaceable anode rod. So you're probably going to get about 15, maybe 20-year lifespan if you're really lucky. But I guess by then the compressors wore out and you're looking in the market for a new water heater. By then, I guess also too, these things will be much more popular, much more less expensive, and probably even more rebates out there on the market there forward. But at the moment, these are the least expensive option on electric water heaters. Trying to get a tankless water heater, the overall cost over the life of the unit compared to one of these units, the GE outperforms on cost savings versus having an on-demand electric. Now, if you're going on-demand gas, it's about a wash, but still, these are ideal. The reason being is because the anode rods last so much longer on these units than those small little on-demand instant water heaters. Anode rod on those probably only lasts about 6 months to a year. That's even in the manual on most of them. What you want to avoid when you get a heat pump water heater is you do not want these copper coils going into the tank. There's a model that Lowe's sells. It's made by, I think, Air Generate. It's called the A7 Air Trap or Air Tap. Anyways, that one you have to reconfigure your existing water lines, and what they do is basically they put this type of unit on top of your water heater, but they adapt one that doesn't have it already. So what you're doing is you're stuffing these copper lines inside your tank. That's a no-no. That will destroy your anode rod within a year, guaranteed. With electrolysis, you will basically be replacing anode rods left and right. So any cost savings that you're getting on having the heat pump on top of the unit, your anode rod will be a wash because you'll be replacing that all the time. So avoid any type of system where the copper lines go inside the tank. You can look at the electrolysis and everything else, and you actually see what that really means. It just means that this is a sacrificial rod. So basically, that little rod right there goes down the entire length of the tank and actually prevents the tank from bursting out. So the water electrolysis actually attacks the anode rod. The same thing on the ships. You have those little pieces of metal on the side of the ships. Those are like in salt water. If you wonder why the tank, those saltwater vessels never really rust out so quickly, it's because they have those little sacrificial anodes on the outside of their ships. Now those have to be replaced pretty regularly, otherwise their ship hull will be all rusted out. But under no circumstance buy one of those units and put the coils inside the tank. These on this model is actually wrapped on the outside, so that is a beneficial factor. The Rheem first generation one that's sold at Home Depot, it's almost a clone of this one, only it doesn't have this nice little LCD screen that gives you possible error codes if something does go wrong. That one just has little LED lights. The verdict is out. I think this one's a better unit because of the fact you can replace the rod and because you have an LCD screen. so if something does go wrong, you actually could see what the error code is. The other one just has LED lights. It might be able to give you a diagnostic code by blinking so many seconds at so many times, but I'd rather see an actual code than have to actually count the little light blink on like the same thing as a OBD1 versus OBD2 computer on a car. OBD1s, you stick a little piece of paperclip inside the, I think the 6 and number, no, I'm sorry, I think it's 6 and 3 or 4 and 8 pin, and it makes the light on your dash blink so many times. You just count the code and it gives you the code. This one actually gives you actual numbers. So savings are there, performance is here. I recommend going this way. These things are actually on clearance now, so grab them while you can. There isn't really any more federal rebates left on them. They might be state, local, maybe your utility company still provides them, but currently here in North Texas, in the Dallas and Fort Worth area, there's nothing. In Denton County there is another other utility providers that are co-ops. They provide them, but currently Encore doesn't provide anything for these water heaters. But seeing that you can pick these things for only $800 now, it pays for itself literally in less than 3 years. It's a no-brainer. So, any questions, comments, post them to my board.